what the lifestyle was like, because you do a nice job in the book of talking about how he, would give you these great, not parties, but things that you could have, or paying for rooms. Or can you just talk about the lifestyle a little bit and what you experienced with him?
Yeah, Hunter would he would just make problems go away, take care of anything. It was anything that, if we're together, I didn't have to worry about anything. Like, I knew that I was taken care of. I knew that I was going to have a good time, and I knew that I was going to be I always wanted to be around him. I didn't care what he was doing or anything. Like, I was like a magnet to him. I was really drawn to him because he was suffering so much. And, it's somebody that you would expect to, like, seem so entitled and be this, arrogant jerk. And he had a way of, caring for people and going out of his way to care for people. And yeah, when, if I wanted for my birthday, I just wanted to relax, and he buys one of the fanciest suites, in DC for me to stay at that night. And he'd take care of my friends and stuff if they were around, and he would, we would stay at the nicest place, and he would definitely, show me things. I'd never even been in New York City until he took me to New York City.
Right. And you talk in your book about a number of different times where he sort of disappears, and then you see he's ultimately doing some sort of, purchasing drugs or whatever. Did you ever wonder where all this money was coming from? You talk about seeing the laptop often, and he always had to be on it. Did you wonder if he was working? Like, where was he getting the funds for all this?
No, I just assumed that, there's plenty of people like that in DC, in that area, that, they have the funds. I assumed if his, father was vice president, that he was well off. And, I didn't ever really think about it to break it down and think, where is this coming from? What does he do? When I initially just jumped in head first, and I didn't think about that. And I talk about, during that time, it was like young, wild, and free. I wasn't thinking about my future. I wasn't thinking about how this might affect me or the consequences of my actions. I was just living in the moment. And that's, a lot of what it was with Hunter.
So you talk about him being hurt and, someone who had a lot of demons, but you did see a very intimate side of him where I don't want to speak for you, but it seems like he was obviously very generous, very compassionate, empathetic, and all sorts of other wonderful qualities. At some point, you end up, being intimate enough that you get pregnant. Where were you in the relationship with him at that time? And what year was that, by the way?
You're talking about when I got pregnant?
Yeah.
That was, I'd known him for about a year when I found out I was pregnant.
So what year was that?
It was 2017, the end of 2017, when I got pregnant, and I found out I was pregnant and New Year's of 2018.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
So were you guys in a good space? Were you guys kind of exclusive? Was it just something that happened every so often?
As far as intimacy, it would, it happened on and off. It happened shortly after I met him. It happened, on and off for that year. It would just depend, when he was with me, most times we would be intimate. I didn't go into great detail about that throughout the book because, I wanted it to be known that, I cherished who he was. I wanted to get that out there more than, talk about all the times that we were intimate. And it was definitely, more than a handful of times. And just about every time that we were together, we were intimate.
Well, yeah. And I'm trying to establish that because as someone who has started to read the book, and it's fascinating in that way. But I think the question that in my mind as I was reading it was, oh, are they just really close as friends? Or were they, did she think they were dating? But it is, it is very clear through that you respect him and you care about him. So I don't want you to worry about that. And I don't want this. I just am trying to figure out like your frame of mind when you guys were together, when you do get pregnant. Like, did you assume that you guys were dating, or was this kind of the same thing from the whole year where you kind of were in and out of an intimate relationship?
No, it would have been the same thing, through the entire year where we're in and out of a relationship, because I talk about this commitment phobia that I have. Like, I've never wanted to be in a relationship, never wanted to be married. I never wanted to have kids. Like, that was just always me. I wanted to live in the moment and be carefree and just have fun and live my life. And no, I mean, I felt like I described us a lot as like friends with benefits. Like I hated labels and I hated titles to things. And I even talk about, now the only title that I've ever been proud of or ever accepted was mom. And that's, the only label that I want.
So let's talk about that for a minute. You have a beautiful girl. Her name is Navy. By the way, how did you come up with that name?
So my sister actually did. I was moving out all the stuff from Rosemont Seneca, the office that I started working for Hunter, as his executive assistant. And so I'm there on the rooftop, and the House of Sweden lady, like she wasn't a fan of Hunter, and I'm for very multiple reasons that everyone knows. He would bring people in that she didn't like, or everything that he was doing throughout the book there at the House of Sweden. She didn't really like that. So she was happy to see him go, but there was a couch, and it was a couch that was gifted to him from somebody. And she said it had to go through the staircase, and the movers couldn't get it through the staircase. And she's like, cut it in half and just take it down the staircase. He's like, no, you're not going to cut my couch in half. And so he was trying to, make things more difficult. So we had to like get this crane to come get this couch off the balcony. And so me and his other assistant are actually at the top on the rooftop of House of Sweden. And we're standing there watching all of this happen right there on the waterfront. And my phone rings, and it's my sister. And she knew I was pregnant. And so she called, and me and Hunter had already done this little test where you pee in a cup, and it turns blue if it's a girl, or green if it's a boy, or vice versa. I don't remember. And it had said boy. And I was like, no, if I have a baby, it better be a girl. I want to dress her up, and I want to do her hair. And so my sister calls me, and she says, if you have a girl, I know what you have to name it. And I said, what? And she said it because I wanted something short. I wanted something unique. And when she said Navy, I was like, oh, I love that. And I loved Navy Joe. And that's what we call her. But I didn't want to put Joe as her middle name and, name her after him. If it was, a middle name, Joan just happened to be my mom's middle name. So we named her Navy Joan, and some people call her Navy Joan. Some people call her Navy Joe for short. It just, and I honestly said to my sister on the phone, I'd said, I can't name her that because he was dishonorably discharged at some point from the Navy for cocaine. And she said, well, it's not like no one's ever going to know. No one's ever going to know who the child's father is. Because at that point, I planned on coming back to Arkansas, having this baby, and not being a scandal, just keeping it a private matter that I'd had a child and not ever tell anyone who the child's father was.
Right.
Because I thought I was protecting him by doing that. And so I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. He'll never know.